I want you to meet a pastoral warrior named Janet Morana. Now, Janet has been active in the pro-life movement for decades through an organization of clergy and lay supporters who advocate not only for the unborn, but for the women who have to make life and death decisions about the babies they carry. It is truly God's work. Janet, thanks for being with us. And I want to begin by saying every time I do a speech with a pro-life group, I always say, let's never forget there are two victims in every abortion. The obvious one is the baby, but the other victim is almost always the birth mother, who was talked into the procedure by a boyfriend or a mother, grandmother, maybe by her friends, and then lives to regret it when she one day realizes what's really happened. So, Janet, let's start by talking about how you got into the movement. What was the catalyst that caused you to realize that there was a big piece of this whole issue that we were missing?
Well, first of all, Governor, congratulations on your soon-to-be appointment to Israel. And to let you know, I work with pro-life groups over in Israel. One, in fact, is a gentleman named Nir Solomon with Ephrat Crib. So I hope you can connect with him when you get to Israel and be in touch with me, of course. How did I get involved? Well, for me, abortion was not even on my radar screen until this priest came to my parish back in 1990, Father Frank Pavone, and started preaching about the issue. And it opened my eyes. And then one day I went with Father Pavone and other pro-lifers to an abortion mill. And we were praying outside that abortion mill. And for me, Governor, seeing visible pregnant women with visible baby bumps going in to destroy the life of their child, like an iron curtain came behind me, slammed door shut, and said, that's it. I'm game on from now till God takes me home. I've got to do something to help these women that they can't think the only choice they have is to destroy the life of their child. So it was that thing that actually the reality hit me, and I became full throttle ever since.
Until 1972, America was on the gold standard. And what that meant was that all of our dollars were actually backed up by physical gold. We changed that. And as a result, gold actually became worth a great deal more because it means that it's going to hold value, even when the dollar, due to inflation, begins to shrink. It's one of the reasons that owning physical gold and silver makes a whole lot of sense for people who want to protect their wealth, who want to protect the things that they've worked so hard for their entire lives. Well, if you're going to buy gold and silver, I recommend you buy it from American Hartford Gold. It's who guides me on buying gold and silver. They're the only precious metals company that I would recommend. Now, you can call or text and request a free, no-strings-attached gold and silver information kit from American Hartford Gold. Learn how to protect your nest egg with a tax-advantaged gold IRA. And you could get up to $15,000 worth of free silver on qualifying purchases. So call them at 844-417-1010 or text Mike to 998899 for a free information kit from American Hartford Gold. I'm glad you mentioned Father Frank Pavone, a dear friend of mine and somebody who has been on the forefront of advocating for life and doing it with a wonderful, kind spirit. When you were talking, it's very obvious that you had what many of us as believers would call a road to Damascus experience, where the light came on and you realized that there are human lives being destroyed. You've spent an enormous part of your ministry with the women and dealing with what happens. And I want to just share so that our audience understands we're on the same page here. Years ago in my young adult life, I spent a period of time as a local pastor of a church. I encountered something that I was not prepared for. When I was counseling women who had had an abortion, many of these women were in their late 30s, 40s, even up to late 50s. Maybe the abortion happened when they were 15 or 16, and they put it out of their minds. They just repressed it. But as they got older, as they started having children of their own, they started realizing what they had done, and the guilt that they were dealing with was overwhelming. Janet, I was not prepared to understand that that was a piece of this that I'd never really thought about. That's where you spend an enormous part of your ministry. So what happens in these women's lives? Why do they, and how can they put it out of their minds for such a long time?
Well, it's not that they put it out of their minds. They've kind of shelved it, so to speak. They're fully aware of it, but they're not dealing with it. I don't want to go there, is kind of some of the expressions they use. Because we have to understand, Governor, that when a woman has an abortion, for the most part, it's a coerced or forced abortion. These are young girls who are being dragged in to an abortion clinic by a parent or pushed in there by a boyfriend. And even husbands, I've had testimonies of even husbands who told their wife, we already have 3 children. We can't afford to have any more. You have to have an abortion or I'm going to leave you. This, Governor, is not about freedom of choice. So they go in there not wanting to have this abortion, but feeling pressured or coerced or forced, going through with it. And some of them just shut down. A lot of them abuse drugs and alcohol just to numb the pain they're in for many years. A lot happens to their lives, spinning out of control until they hit rock bottom. And that's when they reach up for help. And we operate one of the largest abortion recovery programs called Rachel's Vineyard, founded by Dr. Teresa Burke. We've been healing people on these retreat weekends for decades. And what we find is they can learn that God forgave them. So if they go to talk to their pastor, the pastor can assure them the Lord is going to welcome you back. You're forgiven. The bigger step is to forgive themselves. And that's where an abortion recovery program steps in. That's what Rachel's Vineyard helps them do. It takes them back to that experience. They have to talk about it, write a letter to their baby of forgiveness. If God puts a name on their heart, name that child. So they have an opportunity to have closure with the baby on that weekend. And that's when they can come full circle and forgive themselves. And you know, Governor, what's so thrilling about these women when they are finally set free, guess what? They're 100% pro-life. They vote pro-life, and many of them get involved in the pro-life movement. So this freeing of them, and you know, with Silent No More, we use the butterfly as an example because they're like locked in that little cocoon, like a caterpillar. But after healed, they're soar free like a butterfly.
Personal safety has become a major concern. So wouldn't it be helpful to have a new and easy way to protect you and your loved ones? Well, one way to stop the threat without having to shoot and possibly kill someone is available. Hello, I'm Mike Huckabee, and I found exactly how to have full protection without lethal force. It looks like a gun, acts like a gun, but it shoots chemical irritants and kinetic rounds, not actual bullets. The name is Byrna, B-Y-R-N-A. Now imagine being able to protect yourself without the legal or moral concerns of carrying an actual firearm. The Byrna is legal in all 50 states. No background checks are required, and it can be shipped directly to your doorstep. Most importantly, it's built to immediately stop an attacker without taking a life. The peace of mind you have is free. It's easy to use and doesn't have the strong recoil that real guns have, and you don't need ear protection either. It's assembled by hand right here in the U.S., fully trusted by law enforcement, and oftentimes it only needs to be shown and not fired to turn an attacker away. Don't wait until something happens. Go to Byrna.com/Huckabee and learn more about this effective alternative to deadly force. 500,000 are out there already, and right now you'll get a special 10% discount too. That's Byrna with a Y, Byrna.com/Huckabee. And don't feel vulnerable any longer.